be Dakota, Crawford, and David Long, both in the 1-0 bracket. Both pairs keeping. That's why I'm looking for a Merit Lage to attack for lethal. Crocus could return a legendary creature. I'd take that. Cavern of Souls naming human for Dakota Crawford.
I think that's a box for you.
Yeah, it's the one I already. Yeah, I can check the one box.
Again.
I'll just. My board's going to be 23 blank squares, a free space, and then one box with about 8 dots on it.
So just an amusing element of David Long's deck. I'm seeing a Ghost Quarter here. I'm not seeing a Wasteland. So you can still interact with your opponent's lands. The nice thing about Ghost Quarter is sometimes this deck wants to target itself, get out more of its basic lands.
Yeah. Turn 2 from Dakota is Thalia. We saw this card be used to great effect against Bryant Cook's Storm deck last round. A tougher sell against Turbo Depths.
Yeah. You know, there are some spells that cost 2 mana or so you can impact them some, but it matters a lot less. You don't need to cast more than one spell in a turn usually.
David's going to cast a 2-mana Inquisition of Kozilek, and we'll take a look over at the hand here. We have a Wasteland, we have a Phyrexian Revoker, we have an Umezawa's Jite, and a Recruiter of the Guard.
So the Jite doesn't really play in this kind of matchup. So you're looking at a Recruiter or Phyrexian Revoker.
Yeah.
You have to wonder how much Crawford knows what he's playing against. You can use Phyrexian Revoker, name Vampire Hexmage. That could set David off from comboing in some of these hands. Good argument for just going for Recruiter because it's a more abstractly powerful card. It also requires less work to actually leverage.
So 2 Bayous and Inquisition of Kozilek. What's the range here? Is David already in left field at that point?
Yeah, you don't look like a lot of decks. You could just be even Obzon at this point. You know, that's really the kinds of decks that you see playing multiple Bayous. It really depends on how much Legacy Crawford plays.
Sure.
Theoretically, this could be some Veteran Explorer deck.
Okay.
Usually they lead on basics. Those play a lot of basics, but it's just one of the things that you could be.
Wasteland hits a Bayou and Thalia attacks.
Yeah, there's not going to be a matchup where late Wastelanding there is terrible. Because of the Dark Depths combo, you kind of do want to maintain those in this matchup, though.
And you see some hesitation on Dakota's side. He had the option to make Revoker and try to blind name something, and just chose not to.
Yep. Yeah, that does suggest some uncertainty here.
Can't cast Umezawa's Jite because of his own copy of Thalia.
My read is that Crawford thinks he's playing against some kind of green-black X mid-range deck.
And that would make sense.
Theoretically, it could even be Jund at this point.
Yeah, and even the Veteran Explorer decks you're talking about are mid-range decks at the end of the day.
Yep.
Third Bayou.
Third Bayou's, that's a lot of Bayou.
Now, Delver decks are off the map right at this point.
Second Bayou killed Delver deck. You can't play 2 Bayous in your Delver of Secrets Days deck.
I'm not gonna play 3. Okay, maybe you're expecting white or red cards. I haven't seen much, punishing Jund in a while. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're already pretty far off the grid. See David, an Elvish Spirit Guide up at the front of his hand.
Yeah, I'm scraping trying to come up with another 3 Bayou deck, and they're just not abundant. Even a deck like Shardless Sultai, I think that the upper limit is 2.
You usually play 2, yeah. David looks like he's contemplating a Spirit Guide play.
Yes, his hand is a little gummed up. I think there's at least 2 Elvish Spirit Guides in there. And there he's going to lead on exiling Spirit Guide and gives him the mana for Living Wish.
Oh, Spirit Guide, Living Wish. Uses the Spirit Guide to pay that extra Thalia mana. Dakota's going to read the card. So much like Burning Wish, he chooses a creature or land card from his sideboard, puts it into his hand, and exiles the Living Wish.
So options available. There's an Urborg, a Sylvan Safekeeper, a Fairy Macabre, a Reclamation Stage, a Thespian Stage, a Dark Depths, a Dryad Arbor, and a Caracas.
Is Dryad Arbor part of the Wish board?
Seems to be.
When would you wish for that?
Against Diabolic Edict, I imagine.
Oh, okay.
Or Liliana of the Veil. And he does find Thespian Stage there.
All right, so that gives Dakota more information to work with. You don't really play Thespian Stage without Dark Depths. If Dakota wants to make that Revoker, he's got a target now.
Right.
Plays Plains. He has picked up a copy of Caracas as well, though. So
Revoker will have to name a non-land card,
Oh,
though.
you're right. So you can't get that. So the Caracas will give him defense against Stage.
He might be cued in, at least with this much information, as to Vampire Hexmage, though, you know, the stage itself is face-up.
And his Jite, Revoker, Caracas. He attacks David to 15.
Got to turn the pressure up. Minimally, I would want to see the Jite cast this turn. You could go for Revoker and make a name, though.
I guess Jite is the faster piece of interaction if you start looking at this adding up right now.
Yeah. Once it starts connecting, it starts being +4 from the 2 counters in the previous turn.
It connects a turn later, but it'll make that up. Dakota will cast Revoker, so now I'm interested about the naming. You can't name lands. Does he? Hexmage seems fine. This is he's got the read on the deck now, and he does name Vampire Hexmage. So that last Living Wish giving him enough information to make the correct play.
If you've played against this deck a lot, a card you might name is Sylvan Safekeeper. A lot of your games are going to come down to fighting through that actual Merit Lage token.
Yeah, is Safekeeper included in all builds, or is it a sometimes card? You know, like, can you safely name it blind?
You're asking me about all builds
yeah,
of
I know.
Turbo
Okay,
decks?
that's fair.
Yeah.
It's Hexmage won't, you know, Hexmage is for sure safe, and that you'd know he plays it.
Right.
Another Living Wish from David.
Yeah, the thing about Hexmage, it just doesn't do anything. You already see Thespian Stage. That's why I would look somewhere else in the first place. And there's another Living Wish for David, and there's the other half of the combo, Dark Depths.
Okay, so far so good. Now Dakota does have that Caracas in play, or in his hand. Attacks for 4, puts Long to 11. 3 more attacks to go. And there's the Caracas and Umezawa's Jite. So good play here, leaves up the legendary land. That should keep the 2020 in check. I mentioned before, those are going to be some of the important cards in Death and Taxes. Now, there are 2 copies. How many copies of Wasteland? There are 2 copies of the Caracas. What are we looking at for Wastelands?
So he has a Ghost Quarter in his main deck, and no actual Wastelands.
Okay, so this could be tough. He does have 4 crop rotations, so we can find that Ghost Quarter. David has 1 copy of Sorceress Spyglass from Ixalan in his deck. That could name Caracas.
Yeah. Probably why you see that one in the deck. Though he has lower access to that than a lot of the other card types. You know, he can't wish for that, he can't crop rotate for that, so he does have to draw it.
That Jite is going to connect next turn.
David has his 1 copy of Gitaxian Probe in his just in his hand. He's plays exactly 1.
Yeah, cast Gitaxian Probe, has to pay off Thalia using that Thespian Stage. Drew crop rotation, so okay, that's a possible answer for the Caracas.
Yep, he can crop rotate for that Ghost Quarter. The clock is ticking, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's some concern because the Jite can gain life. The Merit Lage won't be a one-shot. David could actually make the 2020 and lose.
Right, the Jite gains life. It also provides additional pressure. The Batter Skull would be another body.
Right.
Though Crawford's a little ways off of actually getting Batter Skull on the table. It will cost 600 Thalia.
Well, you mentioned there's 1 Spirit Guide in David's hand, right? I mean, if he has multiple Spirit Guides, there are some cheeky plays here where he actually can quarter the Caracas and make Merit Lage this turn if he has 2 more Spirit Guides.
On the following turn, you mean, once he untaps the stage?
Oh, okay, yeah, you're right. He tapped the stage, so...
Yeah, things change once the stage untaps. You know, we'll see what Crawford's able to produce in addition here.
Thalia will pick up the GT. Attack for 4 will come in. That'll put David to 5. And importantly, those 2 GT counters, those could be up to 4 life, meaning Merit Lage is not lethal at the moment. Dakota passes. We'll see crop rotation. Going to get rid of one of those bayous. Asks if that's fine. The answer is yeah, that works.
Won't see too much action from a mono white deck against that.
Gets that one of Ghost Quarter. Okay, so there's the answer for Caracas. And all this play is heads up on the table. Dakota can see the line.
Yep.
Without any interaction on Dakota's side, this should work for David. He plays land 5. I believe he drew a Sylvan Safekeeper as well. Can't really make that into Umezawa's GT. Just get taken down.
Yeah, that is a problem. Once we're at this stage of the game, the Safekeeper gets a lot worse. With just the lands on the table, he has enough mana to Ghost Quarter the Caracas and activate the stage on the Dark Depths this turn cycle. He just kind of has to hope that a Swords to Plowshares has not showed up to party.
And he does this now in case, and which looks like what he's going to do. He has the option, right, to play around Wasteland or play around Swords. You can't really do both, so he's choosing to play around Wasteland by doing this main phase. Or I guess maybe he loses to the Swords both ways.
Yeah, he's not beating Swords here.
But this line beats Wasteland. If it's Dakota's top card. If you wait to do it on end step and Dakota draws the Wasteland.
It's not appreciably different to do it now versus draw step if your concern is Wasteland.
Yeah. It depends whether he lets Dakota draw the card.
There's an argument for waiting until draw step because your opponent is more likely to draw planes if you have not yet searched one out of their deck.
Okay. Yeah, and he's going to, during upkeep, make the 20/20. So we have Merit Lage.
Yeah, and you see him go for that before the land drop can be made. You know, you would like to be able to ambush the Thalia or something in combat, but you can't afford that. That
D6 set to 1. That's a mighty nice Merit Lage token.
Yeah. Jerry Thompson a little bit better.
And the draw from Dakota is Flicker Wisp. That's going to get the 20/20 out of there.
And that's lethal.
And a lethal swing, so Dakota hits on the outs, and he'll take the first game.
Thalia slowed David down, and Dakota just had the relevant interaction.
Yeah.
That was a game where I think lands would have fared a lot better than the Turbo Depths deck.
Well, we look at the cards that David actually cast, so a lot of them are cards that you'd see out of lands.
Yep.
Crop Rotation, Dark Depths, Thespian Stage. I wasn't overly impressed with Living Wish.
Casting it for 3 is a pretty hard sell.
Let's look over the sideboard. So a lot of these are wish board cards from David, the creatures and lands you were mentioning.
Yep.
But much like Bryant last round, he's got 3 Abrupt Decays, not part of the wish board. You think they come in here?
It's fine. I think it's less important for Turbo Depths than it was for Storm. You don't really have much in the way of permanents that are super problematic. Sanctum Prelate naming 2 is kind of the concern because of your Living Wishes in the first place. And you can't Abrupt Decay if there's a Sanctum Prelate on 2. You saw David could kind of work through Thalia. It was just like a combination of Crawford being able to break up the 20/20 itself that was the problem, and Abrupt Decay doesn't really solve that.
Okay. Yeah, there wasn't a specific creature in play that was stopping David. It was actually the land.
Right. Pithing Needle to name Caracas gives him more play against that. That one I like a good amount.
How do you feel about Steely Resolve here? You can name a creature type, and creatures of that type gain Shroud.
Yeah,
you can name Avatar for Merit Lage.
I'm into that.
That's some nice technology. I do like it too here.
Digging deep for these Steely Resolves and these Sylvan Safekeepers, but I like it.
All right, on Dakota's side, he's got some Mind Break Traps, Surgical Extractions, Gideon's, Council's Judgment, Containment Priest, Mirren Crusader, Path to Exile, Graft Digger's Cage, Aethersworn Canist, and Sanctum Prelate. Mainly, I won't waste to kill this 2020.
Yep, I like Path to Exile. You probably can't convert Council's Judgment often enough, so I'm not super into that one.
It does get around Steely Resolve if David main phases, which he has to sometimes out of respect for Wasteland.
You're asking for a lot, but yes, it has its spots.
Yeah. Anything else? Gideon, that's a faster clock. I don't know.
It costs a lot. I mean, like, Thalia's pretty good in this matchup, too. Casting Gideon for 5 years, not very exciting.
Yeah, I suppose when you make your Thalias, they're not being removed, so then once you push your own Gideon up to 5, you're pretty off the card.
Right.
All right. Dozen taxes, though. Once again, we're seeing it against a combo deck winning game 1. This creature decks continues to get better. I remember when Dozen Taxes' MO was, it was good against the fair decks and had a fighter's chance against combo. It feels like it's doing better than that now.
Right. Yeah, it certainly just gets better all the time. It was a deck. It was my least favorite matchup to play with Temur Delver back when that was the deck.
Yeah.
I got beat up by a lot of Death and Taxes players then, and they're just gaining points in other spots as well. I will say Death and Taxes has a terrible time against True Name Nemesis.
Yeah.
They do not enjoy playing against that card.
All right. The Season 2 Invitational is just a month away here on the SCG Tour. Right now we are at our Washington, D.C. Legacy Open. This means there is one more Open before we head to Roanoke. Next week we'll be playing regionals all around the country. We'll talk about that more later on. Though there's still one more Open between now and the Invitational. That's our Baltimore Open. In 3 weeks we'll be, well, just a short trip from here in D.C. We'll be over in Baltimore at our team event. This is, you have to enter, you need a team of 3 players, 1 playing Legacy, 1 playing Modern, 1 playing Standard. Sign up the event. These have been among our most popular events, so you want to make sure to sign up early for that one if you intend to oncoming. And then we have our Season 2 Invitational weekend. It's in Roanoke, Virginia, Standard and Modern. It's 2 days of Swiss and then a grand top 8, the best of 5s all the way through. We'll have that going on. This also means your chances to get our playmats here in Season 2 are quickly coming to an end. Our standard playmat we've been giving out this season is Bantu the Glorified. For Modern Opens and Classics, we've been giving away the Invocation Art of Spell Pierce. And for Legacy, which is what players have been getting this weekend, it's the Invocation Art of Days. You can get all these playmats with entrance to any Open or Classic in Season 2. But time is running out. You have tomorrow, if you're in the DC area, you can head on up for our classics, play those. And then we have our Baltimore weekend. Game number 2, David on the play. We didn't really see, to call it a combo deck last game, I didn't see a very fast start out of David.
No, you saw the fail rate of the combo deck.
Dakota's going to start an Aether Vial.
He'd be going a little quicker if he could pay 2 mana for his Living Wishes as game 1. The Thalia was relevant.
Yeah, set him back off really a full turn. Goes ahead and just fetches there. No Brainstorm here, so he doesn't have to control those fetch land activations. He just chooses to thin his deck.
Yeah, when you're not brainstorming, you can be pretty willy-nilly about cracking fetches. Certainly when your opponent is Death and Taxes, you're not worried about getting stifled either. Stifle kind of at a downswing in the format anyway.
And looks like we have Steely Resolve here, turn 2.
Remember cracking this card from a booster pack and being very disappointed.
Elves used to play this. So, when it enters battlefield, he chooses a creature type. He's going to choose Avatar. And creatures that type have Shroud, not hexproof, Shroud here. So David can't put auras on his Merit Lage either. But most importantly, this is a preemptive answer to Karakas. There aren't too many cards that do that.
Right. Yeah, he just kind of maximizes on that. Again, he's just, it's green-black deck, no real ways to selectively draw cards outside of the wish package and the crop rotation. Just kind of maximize on different things that can deal with Caracas, Swords to Plowshares.
Thalia off Cavern of Souls for Dakota. It's going to be Cavern naming Human. Doesn't actually have white mana in play. With that Aether Vial in the Cavern, that may just be fine.
Yep. Rashadan Port is all right here as well. While if Long's able to make Merit Lage, he can give the creature itself will have Shroud. The lands that lead to it do not.
Right, so now Dakota's interaction is he's looking at cards like Wasteland to stop the Merit Lage.
Yep, if you can combine Port with Wasteland, then you have a lot more play. Once he gets a couple more creatures on the battlefield and can apply more pressure as well, then he can force Long into a position where he has to combo.
David going for the snow-covered basics today. One of each.
I'm still waiting on a Guru basic. Kind of a big ask.
He's got those two into the north, so you might as well play the Snowland. You never know.
That is true. Into the north is another tutor for Dark Depths.
Gets Dark Depths with his Living Wish. I wonder if he ever actually into the norths for his basics.
I'm sure it happens.
It's interesting because normally you see Legacy players play these snow-covered basics kind of as a style play. But for David, he actually has just a real reason to play snow-covered.
Yeah, there's a little bit of utility. You probably find the forest way more often than the swamp because he does play Urborgs.
And Steel Resolve going to work here. There's the Caracas in Dakota's hand. He'll play it this turn as he attacks with Thalia.
Theoretical work anyway. We'll see if David's able to put a combo together. He'll be able to do it through just Port. That shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah, he's got that Dark Depths he found off the Wish and a crop rotation in hand. Now, because of Thalia, he doesn't yet have the mana to do that unless he has Simian's or Elvish Spirit Guide.
Yep. Plays 3 copies of Elvish Spirit Guide.
And he's going to go ahead and play this one slow, feeling like he's in control. A 2-mana Thoughtseize for David. In response, Dakota's going to use Aether Vial to put a Stoneforge Mystic into play. Gonna go find a card that David may or may not Thoughtseize.
Yeah, so this is a curious play, and you're gonna see what I mean in a second here when Dakota reveals the second Stoneforge Mystic in his hand.
Yeah, you might as well just not get an equipment.
Yeah, just wait. If David wants to take Stoneforge Mystic, he can have it. You have a second copy. Perhaps Dakota is trying to get David to take this GTA, and the GTA doesn't matter.
I guess if Dakota already has a really nice card in his hand that as much he knows will get taken over in equipment, then this is pretty free.
Right.
If he has like Council's Judgment in hand, David's taking that, and he does.
Yeah, so possibly just trying to bait David into taking that GTA, but GTA very unlikely to matter.
Because Council's Judgment, because it's a choose effect, actually gets around Steely Resolve.
Right. Well, I mean, he's going to Judgment the Steely Resolve itself, then he would get Swords to Plowshares. So he needs to draw a second White Source. You would Judgment the Steely Resolve.
Okay, sure.
Like you don't wait for your Sorcery Speed interaction to Merit Lage.
I mean, that's tough, though, because if you want to Council's Judgment, the Steely Resolve, and Caracas, then he needs 2 more white mana? I mean, it's going to get taken regardless. It's still the best card.
Right. I mean, he cannot beat Merit Lage without Council's Judgmenting the Steely Resolve.
Yep.
Unless he could force Long to combo at Sorcery Speed.
Sure. So the Council's Judgment is gone. Yeah, and you know, the mana really, Dakota paid a big price on his mana there. With double white, the Steely Resolve would be gone. The Caracas would be up again, and Dakota, I think, would be in a much better position. But that he couldn't cast that Council's Judgment really feels like it mattered here.
Yep, it wasn't any decision he made.
Oh, no, yeah.
It's just like, these are the lands you're supposed to play in this deck. He did not draw the correct ones.
Swords to Plowshares for Vampire Hexmage. Steely Resolve not set to Vampire or Shaman.
Yeah, you see, Vampire Hexmage is not an avatar.
Nuke the Aether Vial. Do it. Do you want the... I guess does he want... Yeah. Does he want the life point, or does he want to hit the Aether Vial?
Life doesn't seem huge. I'd go for the vial, I think.
Reset that. There we go. You got to start over. And he will. Back up to 1 goes the Aether Vial.
Yeah, from 13, Long still has a little bit of life to play with. Wasteland is a really nice pickup for Crawford here. Now he has both Port and Wasteland online. He can apply a lot more pressure in the face of a potential combo. Now, if Long just has another Hex Mage to go with Dark Depths, it changes things a little bit. He would still want to have an answer to that Wasteland.
Swing with both. That gets David down to 10. Yeah, Wasteland could make things tough.
Looks like Long does have another Vampire Hex Mage.
Okay.
Dark Depths and crop rotations, we can find Ghost Quarter for Wasteland.
Yeah, that can force the action he's looking for. He makes the second Hex Mage, makes Dark Depths. So this is some protection against Wasteland. If Dakota tries to Wasteland away the Dark Depths, then David will make the 20/20.
Yep.
Says go. And when you're saying that is David can on end step crop rotate for that Ghost Quarter to force this play?
Yep. Dev draw step for Crawford here. Picked up Palace Jailer. This card is actually one of the nicer upgrades for Death and Taxes lately. Being able to be the Monarch can generate a lot of card advantage. You just won't be able to leverage that card in this game. Costing 4 with 2 lands he cares about leaving on tap is too big of an ask.
Yeah. Eventually, he can Violet into play. But once again, it's that target creature clause. The Steely Resolve is stopping all this interaction.
Yep. If that Hex Mage didn't reset his Vial, and theoretically it was at 4, you could use that to fight over the Hex Mage and force more action.
Yeah. And he says go. So now David's going to go for the play mentioned here. He's set up a possible win. He'll end step crop to rotate. He'll get rid of the snow-covered swamp.
Got to maintain those 3 bayous.
I guess in this, there's no sense. He doesn't really need the basic to ensure himself against Wasteland in this matchup. That's not what Dakota uses Wastelands on.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking he'll get Ghost Quarter here.
I would imagine.
There it is. This may be lethal.
Sure looking like it.
Yeah.
Steely Resolve backup as well.
Steely Resolve's been a great card here. Ghost Quarter targets Wasteland. That puts Dakota in a bind. If he uses the... He either uses the Wasteland, it doesn't really matter if he uses it or doesn't. He can't stop the 20/20. Can't make Palace Jailer.
And David is playing into Dakota. If he could activate Vial on 2 in response here, he would have already done it though. He could have potentially had Revoker to name Vampire Hex Mage.
Okay, he'll activate Vial for 2 in response.
I think at this point, David just lets that resolve, checks. If you have Revoker, you have Revoker.
I mean, David's tapped out. He doesn't... Yeah, I agree.
He can't just activate Hex Mage here. That's
like, oh, he might have Revoker. Better go for my Hex Mage. That's not real.
Right.
So,
if it's there, he loses. If it's not, he wins. That's basically what it boils down to.
It's Stoneforge Mystic. Well, that one's just fine. Stoneforge Mystic, yeah, he'll find a Batter Skull.
Much too little,
Sure.
much too late.
Sure. It doesn't fly.
It sure doesn't. Can you imagine?
If the germ token had, would the Batter Skull grant flying, or would germs just inherently have flying?
Just flying 0/0 germ. I assume it would be the Batter Skull granting it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It was like Batter Thopter.
I really think that card, especially when it was first printed, wasn't pushed enough. Needed flying to just make sure it was playable. So now Dakota goes for the Wasteland. In response, David Hexmages his own Dark Depths. The counters are removed. David's going to get a 20/20. This is still on Dakota's end step.
Dakota's just going to double check everything and see if there's anything he can do. But he looks to just be dead on board here.
All right, it says, may I untap? Okay, he will. And I'm looking for Merit Lage attacks for lethal.
Best thing Crawford could have here is Swords to Plowshares on one of his own creatures.
Okay, yeah, that would keep him alive for one turn. I'll give him a chance to draw his other. Can I use 2 Council Judgments? Yes, he could draw the other one.
You need a land to go with it.
He would draw 2 cards in one turn. No, he'd draw it and he'd tick the Aether Vial up to 3 during his upkeep. No, wait, no, that's the Flicker. Dang it. Dang it. And I was on Flicker. You can't do that.
I'll violin my Council's judgment.
I mean, maybe your opponent. No, that doesn't work either.
Here's an attack for 20.
Yeah, all right. Dakota's at 20.
That's a good attack.
All right. Solid. We're going to go to a 3rd game. Steely Resolve, getting it done there. How many cards did that blank in that game? Where we saw the Caracas.
Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, I mean
they had the Palace Jailer too, which could have been cast.
Yep.
I guess it could have been vialed in because of the Hexmage reset the vial.
There was no timing where the Jailer could have been counted, but if it did matter, it stopped mattering because of the resolve.
Yeah. On Dakota's side, you have to wonder how many Steely Resolves does David have?
Well, David has a lot of things that are kind of like Steely Resolve. His other stuff only deals with one thing. You know, your Pithing Needle, your Sorcerer's Spyglass, your Sylvan Safekeeper. But he does have a number of cards in his deck that can interact with the small number of answers that Dakota even has to the combo in the first place.
They're getting it ready for a 3rd game. So we have seen on the horizon the next upcoming Magic set. It's a ways away, Rivals of Ixalan. What we can tell you about Star City Games is that means we're going to have another amazing pre-release playmat. It is Riding on Plumes. That's going to be given away at the Rivals of Ixalan pre-releases January 13th and 14th. It's animals riding on other animals, Ryan. Oh. They're having a race. This is great.
I really like the feathered dinosaur. That's a nice touch.
I didn't even notice that the mouse is in the race too. He's like riding this chicken.
This race is surprisingly close, given the various sizes of these animals.
I think the cat. I would bet on the cat here. I think that's the right combination here of the dog's one. That one's too big. He's not going to be fast, and the mouse, that's just too small. I'm betting on the cat.
The dog has a short window to turn and knock the cat over.
Yeah, that's kind of like when you play Mario Kart and you pick Bowser and you're not faster than anyone, so you just run everybody off the road.
Yep, I would do that with Wario. He was just big enough to do that.
That was my favorite strat in Mario Kart. I can't get down the timing, so I just run into people. Turn 1, Thoughtseize from David Long here for our 3rd game. We see 2 more lands. One of them is a Wasteland. We see Sarah Avenger, Batterskull, Flicker Wisp, and Recruiter of the Guard. I don't, it's lands and spells, but I'm not a big fan of this hand. No,
the Flicker Wisp in particular, really only online in this matchup when you have a vial. I would be pretty into mulliganing this hand. The Wasteland's nice, but it's the only thing that's nice.
If one of the planes were a Caracas, I'd probably been down to keep it.
Yep, that would help.
but it's very slow. So we'll see, and David can now pick it apart even farther with this Thoughtseize.
Yeah, well, the only card he wants to take is Wasteland, so I guess he takes one of these somethings with the Thoughtseize.
Well, Flicker Wisp is the only immediate answer.
It's the only hypothetical answer
to a Mirror Lage, yeah. Dakota will draw another Flicker Wisp. Normally it feels bad when your opponent draws the card you Thoughtseize, but if I were in David's situation, I don't think he'd mind.
Nope. Yeah, really he only cares that he wasn't able to Thoughtseize the Wasteland.
Yeah. When there's an Aether Vial in play, Flicker Wisp does it a lot more in this matchup.
It's pretty notable that Long did start on basic Swamp here, so that Wasteland will be able to be leveraged. Though Crawford really couldn't take too much advantage of Wastelanding a land in the first place because he does not have Aether Vial and he has a bunch of 3-mana spells.
Sure.
Sarah Avenger helps a little bit on those lines.
Even that feels a ways away. Fetch land for David Long. He's boarded in his Abrupt Decays. Got one of them in his hand.
Abrupt Decaying Vial turns off a lot of Crawford's play.
Yeah, I mean, there's this. It's interesting, right? Abrupt Decay is pretty good here, but based on the hand that Dakota kept, the Abrupt Decay is actually looking weak right now.
Right.
It's like, I saved this for your key cards. If you don't draw any of your key cards,
this is pretty poor against your B squad.
Yeah.
The question then, though, is how aggressively can Long threaten a combo?
Right. 2 mana, and you will wish.
Fetches up Bayou in the face of Heads Up Wasteland.
You know, I kind of like this. If I'm David and my opponent is using Wasteland on my mana-producing lands, I'm pretty okay with that.
Yeah, as long as he has some more.
Yeah.
And the find there, Sylvan Safekeeper.
Okay, so this is the Ale Rod, right? I'm sorry, it was one of our invitational cards.
I know it's an invitational card. I believe you.
We'll see Phyrexian Revoker from Dakota. Named Hexmage last time. We'll see if he has a reason to deviate. He's seen Sylvan Safekeeper, so he'll switch to that.
Makes sense to name the card that you see face up. I'm into that.
Plays the Wasteland. Look.
Yeah, Safekeeper can sacrifice a land to give a creature you control Shroud until end of turn.
I like this. David will cast Sylvan Safekeeper. He makes Thespian Stage into the Heads Up Wasteland. Yeah, kind of. Stage is the one that he's okay getting wastelanded because he has other ways to convert the Dark Depths.
Yep.
You know, maybe Dakota wastes the Thespian Stage and David says, fine, Hexmage Depths, go.
David also might not have much else in the way of green mana. This Bayou might be pretty important to him.
I don't know at what point Dakota might want to pull the trigger on just shooting down the Bayou. It'd be a really aggressive play.
The nice thing about casting Safekeeper here is it just blocks Revoker.
Yeah.
So it could be a do-nothing, or, you know, it can just kill the card that's trying to shut it off.
Now, Dakota will present a real clock in this Sarah Avenger. Now that we're on turn 4, you can cast the 3/3. Go back to David. We know he has the Dark Depths in hand and Abrupt Decays. Looking at 6 cards right now, though, so a lot of options. Vampire Hexmage among them as well.
With Hexmage and Thespian Stage, you can set up, you can beat the Wasteland. You have to worry a little bit about Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could Abrupt Decay the Revoker, then make the Hexmage, then make the Dark Depths. It's a lot of turns coming, but that would, in theory, get around everything.
Yep.
I guess he's still at 17.
Yeah, certainly plenty of time. Sarah Avenger doesn't hit that hard.
Just says go. Dakota on his own turn will make Stoneforge Mystic. This feels like he's going to try to Abrupt Decay the Revoker.
That would be my guess.
Yeah. Dakota's going to get Umezawa's Jite. Does not have much time to Abrupt Decay because once that Jite hits, the Safekeeper's gone anyway.
Right. So it's going to take Crawford another mana source to get that online next turn, and even still, he would have to tap the Wasteland. So Long has some time, given all that.
So I don't know, like, I'm a bit interested that Dakota has not been attacking with the Revoker. I'm almost interested in trading it for the Safekeeper because that's what it's doing anyway.
Yeah, I would be very into that attack. I agree.
Abrupt Decay end step from David Long. Looks like it'll target the Revoker. This will free up his Sylvan Safekeeper. And Dakota will go ahead and Wasteland away the Thespian Stage. David should be just fine with that. His hand is Vampire, Hexmage, and Dark Depths.
Yep.
So sign me up. He's going to get to untap here. This looks like a game-winning play. He can make the 20/20. He has a Sylvan Safekeeper online to give it Shroud.
Yeah, Crawford would need some very specific things to beat this.
And because Dakota used that Wasteland, he doesn't even have GT plus Equip set up, so he can't remove the Safekeeper. I think we're going to see David. Merit Lage is going to take this one over. We'll see, though.
It's looking good.
Yeah. Dark Depths, Vampire Hexmage. See if he main phases it. That would play around Wasteland.
Yeah, that's the one thing you need to beat.
So he will. Gets a 20/20. Has two ways to give it Shroud, and he'll say go. Council's Judgment, the draw for Dakota.
That would play if he had that Wasteland.
Yeah, if he had the third mana, giving a creature Shroud doesn't matter in the face of Council's Judgment. Now, he does have a turn to block with the Serra Avenger, so he has one more shot at the land.
True.
Just says go. Can use his mana to make GT end step. Caracas by David Long. Serra Avenger not legendary.
Also not going to be bouncing his own Merit Lage.
Abrupt Decay, though. That'll take care of Serra Avenger. 3/3 is down. 20/20 swings in. And you can put a Batterskull or a GT into play. That's just fine.
You get to lose while controlling an equipment.
And that's going to be the match. David Long continuing his success here in Legacy on the SCG Tour. Switching off his mainstay of lands, but so far no problem. He is 2-0 with Turbo Depths.